Yo, what's up guys? So if you clicked on this video, I am very happy that you did. So today I wanted to offer a different perspective from my last video on MapleStory Classic in regards to some of the community reaction to Classic as a whole. First, I want to talk about the pay to win aspect of things. Like when I say expect pay to win, I don't necessarily mean that that's something that should just be widely accepted and we should not have commentary about that. I will say though that I think there's enough free content in MapleStory, in both versions of MapleStory, that we can still have a good gameplay experience without the need to spend money on the game. I've played other games, especially like mobile games, where after a certain point in the game or a certain level, you quite literally cannot progress without spending money. And I've never really felt that with MapleStory. You can tell the difference between a game where you absolutely cannot progress without spending money, and a game where it helps if you spend money. And I think that's the case with MapleStory. And of course, it's not gonna feel good when it seems like rich people are getting rewarded with more things in the game. But when stuff is free to play, there's typically a need to make some money, and that is going to come with microtransactions and cosmetics and things like that. But there are tons of players who don't spend a dime on the game and they still get pretty far. Now, I think if we get to a point where you quite literally cannot physically progress through anything in the game without having to spend money, then I think that becomes a very serious problem. It's just, there's always going to be people who are willing to do something and people who are not willing to do something. And this is the one sentiment of this video that I really want to emphasize. Like, I think this is the entire point of everything that I'm going to say from here on out. So just keep that in mind. Another thing is that there's a good amount of people who return to MapleStory and quit frequently. I think those are the ones that are going to be quitting Classic completely. The numbers I feel like will definitely be inflated for a while as people relive nostalgia, etc. But I really think MapleStory has enough of a dedicated fan base currently, even with all its problems and gripes that people have with the game, that there will be absolutely lots of people playing Classic and switching between the two clients because they genuinely just like MapleStory. That's always been the case for me, at least. I constantly switched between GMS and private servers because I was getting from one what I couldn't get from the other. I never truly quit playing MapleStory because it's always been that fun for me, at least. Even though modern MapleStory is a better game technically, I often find myself getting bored and neglecting dailies and weeklies, bosses. It just feels overwhelming a lot of the time. I still have fun playing, especially when I can talk with my guild or convince someone to play with me, but it's just a different playstyle than Classic, which everyone is going to have their own personal opinion on. Like, fundamentally, they're the same, and I think everyone has probably experienced burnout and repetition in both versions, but in every other way, they're so different from each other, and it's going to be impossible to reach an agreement or a bottom line, especially when comparing apples to oranges. And at this point in time, we don't even know if there will be like dailies in Classic or not. We are already going to be seeing new content in a few days, so I think that at least shows that there will be a continuous release of content for the future. Again, unsure of how frequent, but one thing we do know is it's not going to be a one-to-one of old school, which we know has consistently sustained mixed reviews. However, it's been nearly 2 decades, and throughout that time, I was always trying to get back something that felt entirely gone. And not because I lost interest, but it just was like changed forever. For a game to keep bringing me back for that long, it has to mean something. I know I'm not alone in this because I've seen it from multiple different sources throughout the last almost 20 years. I also think that it'll be easier for brand new players to get into MapleStory. Modern just has so much content and so many different systems that it's become way harder for me to get people just back into the game. Like, sometimes people don't want to have to watch multiple guides to be able to understand how one mechanic works, and sometimes people do, and both are totally okay. That's the bottom line here, is that each person has their own preference, and it doesn't mean either side is right or wrong. I just feel like MapleStory is its own little civilization almost. Like, it's its own society, and there's so many different ways to play the game. It's like everyone contributes to it in their own way. There's just so many different ways to play other than strictly grinding, which I am seeing is the main gripe when it comes to Classic. I also wanted to point out that the success of private servers show that there is a demand for MapleStory, whether people are only trying to relive nostalgia or not. In some cases, it could start out as nostalgia and people end up actually liking the experience, or they absolutely hate it and they never come back. Everyone's gameplay experience will be different, and it's too early to tell, especially since we also don't really know Nexon's plans for the future of the game. But Modern and Classic are two separate games, and it'll be easier now to switch over when you get tired of one or the other. I genuinely believe Nexon would not have made a game there was no demand for. And I don't think this will eradicate private servers forever. In fact, there might even be an influx of curious players like flocking to private servers again. I just think it'll take a lot of time to level the game out, as it's basically gonna be a totally new release. It's like when people start a business and have to wait a year or two to see the trends in that business to dictate like what to keep and what to change. It's just too early to tell how players are gonna react to the full release. Anyone can say any type of prediction, but literally only time will tell. I want to see this game succeed because I sincerely love it, and I think all sides of every argument have some sound points, and it's valid to be skeptical since Nexon has let their player base down time and time again. But it's literally been 4 days of the beta client. 4 days is not enough time to fix the issues of an over 20-year-old game. We all just gotta breathe. There is time to voice your concerns. There is time to send your critiques over to Nexon. There is time to get acclimated to something new. If you look online at any old blog or forum, any YouTube comment section, you're gonna find people who hated MapleStory, and you're gonna find people who miss the game dearly. It's really 50-50. So in hindsight, it does make sense to me that the same sentiment is carrying over to today, because this has been a long-standing debate in the community since almost the very beginning. Some want Classic and some don't. Modern MapleStory is still popping off today. Like, it's not gonna be going anywhere anytime soon. They're just two fundamentally the same but superficially different games that you could literally argue about forever. But again, this is just mostly my firsthand experience, what I've witnessed firsthand. If you guys have experienced anything else, then I'm all ears. I always love to hear y'all's perspective on anything. So yeah, just comment down below and we can discuss. Thank you guys so much for watching and sticking all the way to the end. I feel like every point was very important to me, so I appreciate that. You guys have a good one.